Welcome to the About Sex Podcast. I'm your host, Angela Skirtu, and of course you can find me at www.aboutsexpodcast.com or www.therapistsinstlouis.com. Now for today's episode, we're going to do a little something different. So I interviewed the hosts for Cliterally Speaking for my last episode, but they also interviewed me for their show. So what we're going to do for today's show is play the second interview that we did for Cliterally Speaking. So please enjoy.
Hi, welcome to Cliterally Speaking the Podcast. I'm Michelle Dougherty.
And I'm Emily Lane.
We are BFFs dedicated to bringing you conversations between girlfriends over a bottle of wine.
Oh, I am so excited about the wine part.
Oh, me too. So pull up a chair, grab your glass,
and let's get talking.
Hey, Emily, how are you today?
Hey, Michelle. I'm good, thank you. I have to admit, I just took a sip of wine, like as you were saying hello to me. So I was getting a little bit of a sip head start. And
a little pre-sip?
A little pre-sip, and it just made me feel extra good.
Nice.
We're starting this conversation on the right note.
Fantastic. Well, and it's been like a couple days, a week since I've seen you here across the internet waves. How's it been doing? Everything good?
Yeah, things have been really busy. I just completed this grant process with work, so I've got an amazing team of researchers and scientists and doctors of rare and infectious diseases and all these incredible people that have come together, fashion designers and textile experts to try and invent a new mask.
Oh, wow.
That will, be more consumer driven, that will actually have antiviral, antibacterial properties. So that's been a project that, since this whole thing came down a couple of months ago, has been an initiative that's been a part of the conversations at work. And we've now got the most amazing team of, specialists from Washington University together. And so that's been pretty cool to see, seeing those conversations unfold and this amazing talent come around the table. So that's been pretty inspiring.
Yeah, I bet. And I bet it's really cool to actually see, if somebody had this idea, what if we did this? And then now you are making it happen and pulling all the people together to make it happen. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So
it's fun. It's really exciting.
Round of applause.
Oh,
Emily now.
I'm honored to be a part of a project like that. Yeah. So what about you? Tell me about yourself. How have you been?
Busy, also with my work, which is good. We're just trying to revamp policies and procedures and how we conduct business, bringing ourselves into the 21st century, if you will, because a lot of the technologies and things that we're taking advantage of now to do meetings and stuff like that wasn't around when my office was first created. And so that's been a lot of brain work, but exciting as well. So I feel fortunate to be working, and
absolutely,
yeah, it's good. And then of course, they're slowly opening things up here in St. Louis, and so that's going to be interesting to see how that.
I'm nervous about it. I'm not going to lie. I'm nervous. Yeah. I think it's early. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, let's invite our guest and talk a little bit about the wine part. And so we're welcoming sex therapist Angela Skirtu to the table today. Hello, Angela.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're delighted. So we've recently had the pleasure of being on Angela's podcast. What a delight that was.
That was exciting. Yeah. And she still likes us too. We didn't share too much information. So
you shared way too much information, but I was grateful.
We like to put it all out there.
Might as well. What else are we going to do with our lives?
Right. And the podcast that Angela has is called About Sex Podcast. So that's you can find that on all the major podcast platforms and as well. So anyway.
So that was fun, and we didn't drink on that show, but as you know, we do on ours. So let's talk about it, Michelle. What are you drinking?
So I am drinking a delightful cava that I found at the wine merchant and has been in my cellar, and I've put it in the refrigerator to get nice and cold. And it is Italian. It's Giocato. And a really sexy Italian man's pictures on the back. And it says in Italian, Giocato means to play, to have fun. And this is why they love this bright, vivacious, sparkling brut with aromas of fresh lime, flowers, and minerals.
That sounds really nice.
It is delightful. And it's a Méthode Charmant. Is that the same thing as Méthode Champenois or not?
I am not familiar with that term, Charmant.
It's a product of Slovenia, actually. So maybe that is maybe that's their words.
Maybe.
But yeah, so it's very good. So it's I just figured, a little sparkling today would be nice.
A little effervescence for those.
I love the way it smells. Oh yeah.
What's the price point on that?
$14.
Perfect. Can we see the label for those who are watching us? Because I want to know this lovely $14 bucks.
Okay, so I got it on sale for $14. So that but it was originally $17. So this is that tacky. See my
okay.
Giocato.
Okay.
To play.
Perfect. All right.
It's kind of like an orange label. The more I get away from the light.
Yeah. Okay.
It's good. So I'm gonna do my best not to drink it all before the first 15 minutes are up.
No judgment. No judgment. Yeah.
What are you having today?
Judgment-free zone.
Okay. Right, exactly. I'm excited about this one. I've had this bottle for a very long time. This is a 2002. It is the label, it's Madonna Confessions on the Dance Floor. And so this was literally after the album, Confessions on the Dance Floor that Madonna released in the early 2000s. And they did this special release bottle for this. It is a wine from Alexander Valley in Sonoma. And I'm not exactly sure who the actual maker on this wine is. Limited first edition. That's all I can say about this. I was a little worried when I opened it because the cork kind of fell apart. And
it's from 2002, though.
2002. Yeah, I've been hanging on to this for a long time. And I just thought, you know what? It's time. And one, it's getting probably past its time of prime. And two, I was like, we're recording this on a holiday weekend. I thought, might as well kick it off right. I'm going to be staying in self-quarantine mode. Let's just enjoy myself. So here it is. So this is a Cabernet Sauvignon. I'm very pleased with this so far. I've had it open for an hour, and it continues to develop and become more and more interesting with each minute as it sits. But I mean, it's got all that dark fruit on the nose, that really dense, dark cherry and dark, like black plum. And there's a lot of kind of earthy mushroominess also on the nose. And there's a lot of on the palate. What's amazing to me is that there's still tannins on this in 2002, and it's still got tannic structure. So I'm salivating, so it's nice acidity. There's, again, all that nice red fruit kind of stuff with a little bit of just a little bit of texture on the back. I mean, this is a pretty impressive little wine. So
I'm impressed that you left it for as long as you did. We could talk on another episode about how long to leave wines in the cellar and things like that, because that always makes me nervous. Should I drink it now or should I wait? All that kind of stuff. So I feel okay, on a bottle of cava or sparkling, to drink it now.
Yeah, no, this one's time to drink. This is time to drink this one. It's going to start going over the hill pretty soon, but it's absolutely delicious now. So
fantastic.
Angela, what are you drinking?
So I have a very awesome bottle that I got from the Walgreens on my way home.
Ooh.
It's a Cavite Collection Pinot Grigio 2019 Del Venzi. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it, but it does say excellence in Italian craftsmanship. And I wanted to do that in like more of a Midwestern accent, so it was more fun.
Yeah.
But it is imported from Italy. And when I
Nice.
taste it, let's see. Definitely tastes like I'm going to get a buzz.
The fuller the glass, the bigger the buzz.
I know. I have a full glass. I told you guys earlier that like the reason I filled it up is because I didn't want to keep pouring because I was like, won't that be distracting? But I think you guys make this more about wine than I thought. So I'm like, oh, okay. It's okay to take a little drink and be like, I'm going to take another sippy. We're getting comfortable.
Yeah, it's absolutely totally fine.
We love the wine part. It's the lubricant for our conversation, really.
Honestly, when I tell my partner to get me a bottle of wine, I say, just grab a cheap one. I don't care. $6. Give me something. And he's like, I appreciate that you like cheap wine, Angela.
It's a selling point.
Yeah, I used to buy from the bottom rack at the grocery store until I met Emily. And then now I've been
she's turned
educated.
you to the dark side.
She's definitely helped me find ways to spend my money on wine, but good wines too, and it's been good. I actually appreciate all the education. I think I have probably learned along with like 75% of our listening audience on wine. Like, oh, I didn't know that, stuff of that nature, which is all right. So, but we're just excited to have you on the show. We're going to drink our wine. We're going to talk about stuff and talk about you, Angela, talk about what you do, talk about sex, talk about, whatever floats our boat. But one of the things that you said before we started, and I was like, we need to like start this off because you had gone to get some lipstick to put on your, and you made
I wanted to look as
comment.
pretty as you ladies. You guys have your lipstick on. I'm like, damn it, I forgot to put makeup on.
Well, I have to have lipstick because my roots are so out of control. I got to try and distract from.
I can't wait to get my roots done. I'm so pissed off.
I know.
I think last weekend when Great Clips, not that you guys go to Great Clips, Great Clips opened up for the first time.
You don't know me.
I'm not going to like assume. I'm just saying in general, the online wait was like an hour and a half, when you like registered online. And I thought it was
fuck,
pretty.
I'm going to cut myself.
I fortunately have, I got people, that I see to get take care of my hair. Yeah.
Wow. My goodness.
Well, so you want to talk about makeup?
I want to talk about makeup. I want to talk about that thing that you brought up because I was fascinated.
Okay. So for everybody who ever put makeup on, basically everything we do regarding makeup is to make us look like we just had sex. And think about this. Okay. So, and it's not just sex because you can have sex and it can be crappy sex. We all know that. So it's like orgasmic sex. But when you become orgasmic, certain things happen to your face. Your cheeks get more red and puffy and your chest does too. So like think of blush. People sometimes put blush here and blush here. Every place you put blush is where you actually turn red after you have sex. And like the bedroom eyes thing, well, after you've had an orgasm, these lids sink in and they get kind of hooded. And so the thing that you guys have, like I'm looking at Emily's makeup right now and you've literally got your bedroom eyes on, right? And it's like you're doing your makeup to look like you've had sex because sex is sexy. That's why we do it.
Wow. So it's a real tell. Like if somebody's like naturally, has
you're like, oh, you just had a great didn't you? I'm so proud of you.
It's like, how can you tell? No, I'm always like this. I always look like this. I didn't just have sex.
You can look that way though after a good massage too. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but when I've had like a great massage, I feel like I've had an orgasm actually. And I'm not saying they're doing a weird one either, by the way, like a normal.
It's not a happy ending kind.
But it feels like a happy ending anyways.
I had a great massage one time when I got up to get, dressed, I look at myself in the mirror and I was like, I just looked like I had an hour and a half shagging session because my hair was all like mussed and I had the mascara was down and I was so relaxed. I was like, I just looked like I was, taken to bed for a long time. And how do I explain this to my coworkers when I get back to the office? No, it was just a massage. It was just a massage.
You had an afternoon delight and you deserved it.
Yeah. And I paid for it.
Yeah, I don't want to say that part.
Well, and that's like, it's cool because, it's nice when you can incorporate massage into like your own relationship, and in the bedroom and stuff. And I always loved giving massages when I would be, intimate with my partner or whatever. I'd love to, rub the shoulders or, just anything to make them feel more comfortable. And I have always liked to have the massage as well. But what about you guys? Did you ever use like massage in your stuff? When you're like,
for me,
doing the nasty.
No, it's definitely like one of those obvious signs when a guy's like, like early, like you're not even dating or you just meeting a guy and he's like
a waiter at the restaurant.
He's like,
I just want to make you feel comfortable.
Yes. I mean, anytime they're like, would you like a massage? It's like, okay, buddy, I know what you're trying to do here, So I've definitely been on the receiving side of those tactics.
Yeah.
I can't say that it's a regular practice in my household to be like, here, honey, give you a massage. Only when somebody's in pain are we doling out the massages, but we should.
Well, I actually have a friend who has a massage table that they actually give each other massages in their home because it's just a way they take care of each other, which I thought was really sweet. I personally love massages. I think you should incorporate the whole body in sex, and I actually don't always think of sex as sex. So I have this phrase that I've been calling it, which is intimacy of some sort. There's my quote.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Well, and why I call it that is that I think that there can be a lot of pressure around sex. A lot of people we actually in my episode a second ago, we were talking about how people can feel like almost obligatory sex, like you have to do this,
right.
But with intimacy of some sort, my approach to this is like, let's be intimate in some way. Let's touch in some way, feel good in some way. And if it works its way into sex, fine. If it doesn't, how do we enjoy this intimacy as it is? And so some of my favorite forms of intimacy are the nap date, where you cuddle and you're just holding each other and rubbing each other. And if you fall asleep, cool. Like a good outcome could be napping. Like you could, or you're like touching and holding each other. I had a Southern couple call this naked cuddles, and I use that as well because it's so cute.
Oh, that is cute.
But you're naked just cuddles. Naked. Yeah, it's naked because of the Southern accent.
Right.
Yeah. But you just cuddle and hold each other. And actually, I think this is a good date for the pandemic since, we're in a pandemic. What else are you going to do? Let's nap and cuddle. But so I love any kind of massage and touch that's like expanding sexuality from just this penis and vagina intercourse. That's fine, but there's so much more to sex that makes it fun that I think people are really missing.
Well, I think it's the intimacy portion that when you talk about intimacy of some sort that is so fulfilling in the heart. I mean, if we think about some of, if we're watching movies, sometimes the most romantic gesture is just that hand reaching out for the other hand. And it's just like a touch they're holding, right? They're not full on banging at that point in time. They're not making out or anything like that. But that's just like that little bit of like, I'm here. I see you. I'm with you. Right. And we don't get that often in our regular day-to-day lives of just that, oh, I see you.
I love just a random touch, like being able to just walk by your partner and just give a hug randomly or a touch and I love when that happens. And I do recall in my previous life, when I was married, whenever my ex-husband would touch me, it was like an immediate like, oh, this is about sex. Like he wants sex. Like he never just came to hug me or touch me to just touch me in a loving way. It was always like,
Do you think that's because most of men don't know how to express emotion without it equaling sex? Like they may have been conditioned that if they are showing affection when they're after they've hit puberty and all that sort of stuff. I mean, yes, when they're little and they're young, they'll climb all over you and they'll hold you and they'll kiss your face because they love you, that kind of stuff. But when they get older at puberty, that type of expression is inhibited. It's like And I wonder if we could do generations of, future women a favor by helping men know how to be able to take the pressure off themselves. I just want to let you know I see you, I love you, but I don't want to have sex right now.
I got to be honest. I think that it happens as a result of people being in relationships too long, and it's more of an extreme cycle they get into, because a lot of the men I talk to really do want that affection. But because their marriage has devolved to the point where any touch is equated with sex, that like I've had guys say, like, I really was just trying to touch her, like give her a kiss or just hold her, but she's shutting it down entirely. And so I think that it starts in that honeymoon period where people are doing a mix of both. But I think that over time, people don't realize that you really have to work at it. You have to work to keep that spark and excitement and intimacy up. And so after this so there's a 6 month to 2 year honeymoon period that people have. And it depends on a multitude of factors, but basically that's the range. And then after that, if you just kind of let it do its thing, then it's kind of going to fall apart. And so couples who know that they have to keep that work going don't seem to have the same problem as people who it just like hit them in the face. And then they suddenly, like the typical lane that people go is like they get married and they have that now I'm drinking. I always trip on my words.
Yeah, 6 months to 2 years.
This is why I don't like to drink, because I've had 3 drinks and I'm already tripping on my words, right? So, that 6 months to 2 years is gone. And then they start to lose that desire and energy towards each other. And they think, oh, well, maybe it'll go back. Maybe this is a phase. Maybe this is just a thing. And it's like, no, this is actually a natural progression in a long-term relationship where you have to start working at it more. But what'll happen with that, like where they're not, like they basically are so extreme that they don't want to touch each other anymore. They haven't worked at it. They're just so far away that like any touch is being equated with that. Even when somebody is trying to show affection. And I know quite a few men that want actual affection, like just touch, connection. But because it's devolved to that point, their partner is seeing it one way, and they're not talking to communicate that either. Like, that's why I get in there and I'm like, wait, what do you want? And he's like, I want the whole thing. I don't just want sex. I love her. I love touching her and feeling connected,
Is there, 2 quick questions. Is it possible to get it back when it's gone that far? And then what are some tactics that people can embrace to do that work that you're talking about to keep that alive?
So there's 2 routes that need to happen kind of together. So people have this misunderstanding that you have to feel close to have sex. And it's not true. You can either have sex to feel close, or you can try to work towards feeling close to have sex. And usually what I do is I try to get couples on a parallel path of working on both, where it's how do we flirt again? How do we start talking about things that are erotic and turn-ons? But also on this side, how do we connect again? How do we feel close? How do we go on dates? How do we have those interactions? Like, I know this sounds weird, but like part of podcasting that's cool is that we're actually just bullshitting with each other, right? Like, this is a bullshitting conversation. But couples stop bullshitting.
Ruined it for us, right?
No.
Now everybody knows it's just bullshit.
No, but like, I don't think you understand. So like, I can literally break down podcasts. There's bullshitting, and then there's like, we go to a deeper layer, and then you get to the part where it's like, oh my God, there's some serious meat here, right? Like, that's a therapy session too, by the way. That's why I love podcasts and therapy. But yeah, like, people have stopped bullshitting with each other. They're only talking about like the to-dos. They're passing each other in the night, getting this shit done, get this stuff done. Yeah. And then suddenly it's like, they don't even know how to bullshit with each other anymore. To laugh, to flirt, and to be playful. So like, all of this stuff intertwines. Yeah. And that's why you have to work on both to get back. But it's not one versus the other. They're both just as important.
Well, I'm going to drink some wine.
That makes a lot of sense.
I'm like getting over the change in my brain that bullshit's a good thing. And she was like, "This is just bullshit." I immediately went to like the negative. Oh, that's just bullshit. But no, this is a good thing.
It's talking, it's connecting, it's having fun together.
Right.
Right.
So it's just like it was just a mindset change.
I see. So I blew your minds.
Blew my mind. So I'm just going to have a little sip here.
You need the bullshit. Okay, I'm going to tell you something interesting about humor. So I don't know why, but I study humor a lot because I can tell the difference in terms of how couples trust each other or don't trust each other based on how they take each other's jokes.
I bet.
And I know, think about it, right? So you guys have a good dynamic. You trust each other. You can make jokes. You're like, oh, they're just playing. But like when jokes start to break down is when a marriage is breaking down because you can't have that humor and it go across and be like, oh, you're just being silly. It's like, what are you saying? Why would you say that? Like, so the same sarcasm that would have been playful and fun is an attack. And that's one of the first signs I look for in the session when people are talking. It's like, can they bullshit? Can they laugh and play together? Yeah. Or are they taking these jokes personally? And was that always the case or did that just change?
Take them personally or maybe even just find them stupid. Like, right? I mean,
another dumb joke.
Another penis joke, another boob joke. It's like.
See, I love boob jokes. They're great.
Towards the end of my marriage, because my ex-husband likes to tell a story, tells a yarn, and his jokes could take 5 minutes. And they get to be the point where like, and
like wrap it up,
and
like the sex, right? Wrap it up.
Yeah. I didn't have that problem with the sex. It was more like I don't have time. I don't have time for all the story. But when we were first dating, I loved the stories, and I could listen all the time. And I'd even like remind, tell me that story again. That one about that time. Tell me that story again, and he would. But that was not there at the end. But we had our first kid 2 years into the marriage. And I wonder if that's common with, like the honeymoon period. You said 6 months to 2 years. If a kid shows up pretty quickly too at that point in time.
Well, I mean, the kids show up all over the place, but I will say once the kid shows up, that's the first dip in the sex life. Like always because of, you got to think about the chemistry around it, right? So when a woman's breastfeeding, your brain is naturally sending chemicals to stop your sexual interest. Because if you think of this from an evolutionary standpoint, it's like, don't have another child. Your life will be really bad right now. So there's a reason why we don't want why there is a low desire. But then again, because people don't know that that's happening, then they don't develop a process to work through it. Like the intimacy of some sort I was talking about earlier. People who do well through their pregnancies keep up intimacy of some sort where maybe they're touching each other. Maybe they're kissing. Maybe they're still like, I don't know, there's like mutual masturbation, something, where they're learning to be sexual outside of the typical penis and vagina way. And those couples that keep that up will then not have the big dip. But the most common trajectory is they have the first kid, they have a dip, they struggle for a while, but then they're like, let's have a second kid. So the sex goes up a little bit, just a little bit for a time until they get pregnant again. And then after the second kid, it tanks. And that's when the sexless marriage starts for many people, not all people, but quite a few. Or the low sex marriage, low desire.
Yeah. And then there's there was that birthday sex that led to the third baby.
Oh yeah. The oops baby.
Yeah. And I always would joke that, and I think they've heard it on the podcast before, that whenever I drank too much, I ended up pregnant.
Oh, okay. So just 3 times. You only drank too much 3 times.
I only drank too much 3 times. I ended up pregnant. So my choices were to quit drinking or quit the husband.
I think you did.
I quit the husband.
You did right.
Yeah, I quit the husband.
Clearly have never drank too much because
you're still not pregnant.
Right. I'm
guys, I don't know if the science backs all this, but I know that wine makes people flirty, and their inhibitions go away a little bit. So, I get it.
Absolutely.
Wine. I am allergic to wine. It makes my clothes fall off.
I actually had a family member. Oh God, it was like a great grandma or something. And like every time, so her husband was a pastor, and every time he'd come back from revival, she'd be like, "Oh no, he's gonna get me pregnant again." Like that's like a memory the children have of her. She also, like, to be fair, she had 13 children. So like,
oh my God,
that really was a thing. And she really didn't want to get pregnant. But like, that was the time where we were talking about obligatory sex before, where like, that's just what you did. And she didn't have a choice, So yeah, she was really like, "Oh no, I'm going to get pregnant again! Not another one of these guys."
Well, they did say that prior to the introduction of the birth control pill, in a woman's lifetime, she could carry or have 12 children in her childbearing years. On average, a woman could have 12 children.
Well, she had 13.
And she had 13.
I know people
Any
that
twins
have had
in there?
13 too.
No twins, but the one right in the middle did pass away from some sickness because they were a poor family too. So only 12 survived to adulthood.
What did you say, Emily? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I grew up with a family that had 13 kids, and man, I felt like her mom, my friend's mom, was always pregnant. It was like, it just was this constant state of being for her, you know? I just think it seems exhausting. Can't imagine making a baby for, that long.
13 times.
Right.
Yeah.
That's most of your adult life. I mean, like,
right?
Yeah. And then your uterus falls out one day. One day you're just like walking out on this, gardening or something. And you're like, oh, that's the uterus. Okay. Well, I'm
thank
done.
God it's gone.
Thank God for that. Just bury it along here with the flowers.
You know what? I've only been pregnant once. I only have one kid. And actually after it, I was like, yeah, this is good. I'm good. I don't need any more. And I'm also a businesswoman. So I think that's part of it too, is like, I've got other shit to do. Like, I'm cool. You're a kid. We're going to do this. But beyond that, I never wanted more. I mean, I did before I had a kid. But then once I had a child, then I was like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, I always, as a young person, always thought I would have kids someday. I just always did. I loved playing house as a kid. I was babysat from the time I was 12 and took care of kids all the time. And I just always thought I would. And then when I was married, it just never was the right time. And it didn't feel like it was the right time. And, I traveled a lot. And then it just kind of became clear I didn't want to have a kid with him. And then, I never stopped thinking, well, maybe someday if maybe, but I've never put pressure on my life to make it happen. Like, I've never said, okay, I'm in my mid-30s. It's time to get cracking if I want to have a baby. I'm in my 40s. I've just never put pressure on myself about it. And I'm glad I haven't. But it is something like, I'm definitely like past that period of, I probably could with the, bringing science to the table if I wanted to, I
have a friend who has a 3-year-old and she just turned 50, her first baby. She wanted it. And she did she did use science with that. But I was like, when I visited her and I was like, so you have a 3-year-old and you're like a year younger than me.
I have a friend that had twins at 50. At 50, she had twins.
50.
Yes.
You sound horrible. This sounds like a horrible life choice.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure they're very grateful for it, but like, I don't know. When you said
physically,
Emily,
that's tough at 50, I would think.
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be hard, but I guess it depends on how healthy you are. But Emily, you said you didn't put pressure on yourself. I don't think I put pressure on myself. I think my body did. Like it was weird. I switched to my 30s and like, it was like a switch happened. And I was like, this is your chance. Don't blow it. And I didn't. I had before then I was like, will I have kids? Will I not? I don't know. We'll see what happens. But like, it was weird. I
had
felt
a real
physiological
urge.
change. Yeah. Like
That's
my body
wild.
was like, do this, do it now. You're going to lose it. What are you doing? It was weird. I don't know.
Wow.
I
never had that. So,
interesting.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of women that do have that. Michelle, you
3 times.
Yeah.
You had it 3 times.
Did your body ever say it's, let's do this?
I can't recall. There was a lot of drinking involved.
You probably didn't have to think about it, I guess.
No. And I was 26 when I had my first child and had been married a couple of years. And I was like, hey, it's time for us to have a baby. It's more like, this is the plan. This is the path you follow. You've been married a couple of years, time to have a kid. And so we had our first child, who's now 25.
How long did it take you to get pregnant?
With her?
With your
A couple of months, you know, not long at all because I was younger, everything.
Yeah.
Everything was fresher. And then, but then there was
you
no
were
way.
a fresh bottle of wine, not the one that's been aging for 20 years over here.
Yeah, I was not Madonna.
Take some time to warm up here. Yeah.
Nobody had to air me out, to make. And so then on our second child, our first son, all of my children are 4 years apart. So I think there was some kind of cycle within me that when they were out of diapers, and then I had 2 years of, fun with them, there was like a desire to have another child. And so then it took me a little longer with the second child to get pregnant. And he just turned 21. And then honestly, I thought I was done. I really did. Because I had a boy and a girl, and they were both born in the same month. I mean, it was very planned, it was a spring baby, I like to have sex in July so I can have a baby in April, that kind of stuff. Cause the women who have children in August, more power to you. Cause I can't imagine being pregnant through the summer.
Oh my God.
That's sounds miserable. So I definitely, kudos to you. And then the youngest was a surprise, again, 4 years later, but a surprise. And he was the result of a birthday sex.
Yeah.
It's like, damn birthday sex.
It's your birthday. But the youngest is, definitely a joy. And I can't imagine my life without any of the kids. But I also never imagined my life with kids. I always had a vision of myself as being somebody that had a business, a job, traveled, but didn't have children. So the fact that I have 3 is incongruent with my childhood vision of myself.
That's crazy. We had the exact opposite dreams as children. And now we have the exact opposite lives as adults.
Right.
Well, what's weird about that though? Like why do women feel like you can't have both? Like I felt that growing up. Like part of the reason why I probably didn't want to have kids is that I was like, no, I want a career. I want to have life experiences and I don't want kids to hold me back. But like, I think a lot of women feel like kids hold them back, but men don't have that feeling. Like I don't think men ever think kids are going to hold me back. They're just going to do their thing.
Well, I think part of that's because, especially in this age where women are, women are working, and primary household contributors, and that shift has happened, but the shift in the expectations of a woman's role in the family hasn't completely shifted. So, she is still expected to, when she comes home from her high-powered job, to make sure there is food in the refrigerator and dinner on the table and the laundry is done. And, we
call it the house CEO. You're the house CEO. Your job is to organize all of that and still lead at home, which in a company would have been like a full-time job, by the way.
Right. Yeah. Men do not have the same thing. Like men get to come home and, okay, maybe they mow the lawn,
or they say, how can I help you? But they don't initiate it.
Right.
Not all of them. Not all of them.
When you say, hey, the trash needs taken out, and they're like, I know.
Oh my God. I feel like that is my reality. I will ask, I will ask for the garbage to be taken out. And because I ask, it won't get taken out for days. Like, it's like this whole reaction. Yeah. It's like, it's a control thing, right? Well, I want to be in control of making the decision when it's time to take out the trash. It's like,
I told my sons one time I was hot and I was angry because the house, the trash, something like that. And I said, if I have to tell you or ask you to take the trash out, it's already too late.
Yeah.
That's some stern parenting.
If I have to tell you that you need to mow the lawn, I'm already pissed.
Because it sounds like you want them to take initiative. I think that was my problem. So I'm now in a really great partnership. And actually he does a little more than me, which is super exciting. Like my I have an all female family except for some of the guys. And they were like, he's doing more than you. And I was like, I know.
Isn't it wonderful?
Raising the bar for your sisters and their husbands. Oh my goodness.
I was just very grateful to hear my sisters say that to me because like, this is the thing. So anybody can be anything. Like guys can be just as effective as women. People can be, high powered, whatever, like good in the home. So like I've seen everybody in every which way, but the reality is it's more stereotypical for women to feel like they're doing everything and for their men to be asking them for help. And my hard thing as a therapist has been like, what do I do to help this woman like get more help? Because the reality is she's doing it all. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so I've been doing this thing of, hey, like you're going to have to like bite the bullet and just tell them what you want. Because most men, I mean, I know what you're talking about a little bit with Emily with like this control thing, but quite a few men are just like, just tell me what you want and I'll do it. But like the reality though, is that women are resentful of that because that still puts them in that CEO role where they have to do it all. Like I have to manage it. I have to designate. Why am I the CEO? Why are we not as a partnership? And so I've struggled as a therapist with like, how do I get her the help that she needs? Which he says he'll do it if you ask. And so can you just ask, or do you just like stay resentful and be angry about the fact that he's just not going to do it? He's not going to intuit it. So I'm loving, Michelle, that you're saying at least you better intuit this shit or I'm going to kick your ass. I mean, you didn't quite say it like that, but you know what I mean? I feel that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, please intuit.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah. I think the final straw was one winter and it was a February snow. And I think it was 2 years after I'd finished chemo treatment. And I waited all day. My one son had, gone, done what he was going to do. And the other son was playing in the neighborhood. And around 4:00, I finally put my gear on and I went outside and started shoveling the driveway and the walk. And then they come out, they're like, "Oh, Mom, what are you doing? We'll do that." Why? And I stopped and I said, "This is the last day I am ever shoveling the snow as long as you two live in my house."
I would have used chemo against them all the time. I'm doing chemo.
I was post chemo, so they knew that. But I said, all of our neighbors know that I have two able-bodied sons who did not shovel the snow today. I said, and if I'm out here, it's too late. Well, I was going to get to it. If I'm out here, it's too late. So, and fortunately, since then, they took that to heart, and I haven't had to shovel snow or mow the lawn or things like that. But it was almost like, and maybe it was easier for me to say that to my sons because they're my, biological, they're my kids versus how I could have said that to my ex-husband.
Well, it's different. It's a power dynamic, right? Like you can tell your kids what to do, but in a partnership, you're supposed to be able to ask. It's not a demand. It's like hey, could you please? This would mean a lot to me. And so it's hard because sometimes they're being dicks and you're just like, can you help me out here? And it doesn't go that way.
And how do you not take a rejection when you say, "If you please, can you help me?" And they don't. And they say, "Nah, I'm not going to do it." I mean, that like hurts your soul. That's a rejection of a request of
that's
something.
That's why I'm divorced.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think it's your partner. Like I'm so grateful I'm with a partner I am today because like I did feel that sense of like, okay, I could get help, but I had to ask. And like, I still had to do it all. Like it was all me. I had to I had a business, but I was paying people to do stuff at home because he wouldn't do it. And I was pretty angry about all of that stuff. And I think I started to just believe that there are some partners that are worth being with and there's some that aren't. And one of the things I've been talking about a little bit this week with clients is, does a partner add to your life or subtract? And long ago, my partner was subtracting. He really was. Like, I just felt like I was breaking and losing. But like right now, it is amazing to me that he intuits it before me. He and I are having these conversations where it's like, what are we going to do this weekend to like make sure we're doing all these parts? And it's not this push and pull. It's not a fight. It really is where we were both. But it was interesting because we both had relationships where we were the ones that did everything, and we had partners that did their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that just kind of, that subtracted. And so I think we're both very type A. And there's pros and cons to that too, because then like you've got two type A'ers, right? So like, there's definitely, we had a discussion about what's the right way to fold towels. I've never had a discussion like that with a man before in my life, where it's like, well, how do you fold your towels? Well, I do them this way because I was taught the hotel style. And he's like, well, I do them this way because I like the way it looks. And I was like, I'm okay with you having a way to fold towels. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Because I was.
Part of me wonders, I think you're, Angela, you're right. Sometimes there's just partners that aren't right for you. Right.
Yeah.
But and there are people who subtract, but I think that there's a shift happening, thankfully. And Michelle, you're raising your sons or have raised your sons the right way by teaching them how to think more intuitively, but I think like, our generation, we're kind of this bridge between these ideas about culturally what's right, so like, our moms were, maybe some moms worked, a lot of the moms didn't, those more traditional roles were still more popular in our culture. And then there's been the shift, and so I think about like my husband grew up in a family where the mom was at home and she was the home CEO and she took care of everything for the family. And even when we would go home for, to visit, his family, like his mom would do everything for her son. And so she created this environment that made him think that this is what a household is supposed to be. The woman is supposed to do the laundry. The woman is supposed to cook. The woman, so that created this idea about what a healthy marriage looks like, a happy household feels like, all of that. So I think we're in this generation that we're kind of on the fence of these cultural ideas. Now things have shifted, and are continuing to shift. But I think that finding the partner that fits with your idea of what your home should feel like. I don't know. There's a lot of
I think it's hard either way. Cause like you said, there's ways you're modeled, right? You grew up and this is how it was done. There's people who are newer, like trying to do the more egalitarian thing. Let's split this up. But then they're having sex problems because there's a little bit, this is a weird side note. Traditional roles make people a little more hot sexually because of the masculine and the feminine. There's something really hot about the hypermasculine and hyperfeminine. So let's talk about that. So, what is hotter than a man throwing you against the wall and just giving you a deep hot kiss? It's a very masculine thing to do. It is. You're like, oh my God, you're coming in your pants right now. You know it.
I need to have another drink of my
but like, so that's a very masculine thing. And like in these egalitarian relationships where the guy and the girl are trying to like really work on it. And these are guys they are woke. They are woke men. Okay. Like I'm in these relationships, my tagline is I open bedroom doors because I literally spend all day working. That. I know. I love it too. I love it. I love it. I love it. I actually learned that I came up with it at a business conference, which is so weird, but whatever. So anyhow, yeah, like, so they're very woke. They really care about, like, I don't want to come across as one of those guys, but then they actually struggle to do that piece because it's like, that's something evil. So they really struggle, like, take charge, which is a thing that at our very, like, core, we like it. Like I said it and you guys were like, oh, yeah, like you just feel it. And so and I'm not saying we need to stay traditional because I hate that shit. I am a businesswoman and I ain't doing none of that crap. But I think it's just a hard balance to find, like, how do we become these egalitarian couples that are really helping each other and being partners, but still give this freedom to be dirty animals, dirty hot fuckers. Because you can be so woke that you can't be inappropriate. Weird.
Oh, wow. Right. Yeah. There's some dilemmas there.
I know. The world's crazy. Yeah. This is why I have a job security.
Well, but wouldn't it be a natural kind of on the pendulum swing that we go from one extreme to the other, and so we have to find our way back to a balance, so that you can be egalitarian, you can intuit that I live in this house as well, and the snow came down, and I should go out there because I'm a part of this household and shovel the snow. That's a kind thing to do for my partner, or take or brush the snow off of her car and get it ready for her. Just because I want to take care of her, that doesn't mean she's weak. It just means that I'm wanting to take care of her.
Kind, loving gestures, right? Mm-hmm. It's thoughtful gestures.
Right.
Well, and that goes back to the thing I was talking to you guys about earlier, where there's got to be two parallel paths. So the one parallel path is, how do you create that partnership that's strong, where people are connecting? There's just this sweet tenderness of like, how do we take care of each other? How do we support each other? You have to work on that. But then you also have to work on the raw, the dirty, the gritty, the fun. Like I always say, you sometimes do want to be disrespected, but in the right way, like not that you really, I'm not saying you don't want to be disrespected, like you're a bitch, but like, I'm going to push you down. Like, there's some sexy disrespect that can go down. And maybe that's not the rightest way to say it, but it's just, you kind of have to help couples work on both. Yeah. And I'm saying playfully, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay. It's okay as a woman to be feminine, ultra feminine in the bedroom. And that doesn't mean that you are showing a sign of weakness in your life, right? It doesn't mean that you are a second or the second sex, is that the weaker sex? Just because whatever
we have all the power in our boobs, like all of it.
Right. Right. And so men will complain that when they go out in a group that they never know, like they're single guys, they're going out for a night with the guys and they never know if they're going to get laid. They never know. And they're like, it's all you know. And I mean, I know when I would be going out with my girlfriends, I'm like, tonight I'm getting laid. What about you? I mean, like and it's like, and it would happen. It would be like, I know tonight I'm going to get laid.
Because you're the person who gets to say yes or no. Guys aren't. They're the ones who get rejected.
they're like, they have no clue until you're like, you flirt with them across the bar or something like that. Now they're like, me? And then, but I was like, really? You never know you're going to get laid? That seems odd. I always do.
They don't actually. And that's what makes it hard for them too, because they've been told to be very masculine and hyper, we got to do this. But then actually to be a good lover, you have to read your cues from your females, because we're the ones who say yes or no in this world. We really do. Unless you're a terrible person and you're raping people, like that's a different story.
Yeah.
But like they do. And like in these relationships, long term, if women don't develop their sexual prowess, their own language, then where they struggle. So it's not about being hyper feminine, like, oh, I just got to wait meekly. No, I mean like owning your femininity, owning your sexuality, then creates these good sexual dynamics where it's like he can actually take cues from you. But like a lot of guys, even in marriage, are like waiting. I've had guys who would say they would put their toe next to their wife's toe. And if she didn't like touch toes, he would reject himself. He's like, okay, sex isn't happening. And like that's how nuanced these conversations are, that I have to like draw out of people. So why I'm so weird and inappropriate, by the way, is that like you have to be like, I have to say weird shit to help people get out of themselves because they can't talk. They don't even have words to say, like to communicate what's going on here. Like some guy, he said, yeah, I'll just touch her toe. And if she doesn't touch it, then I think she's not interested. And I'm like, did you know that? I say to his wife, like, did you know that he's doing that? And she's like, no, I had no idea. I was just busy sleeping.
So he's got this whole inner story he's telling himself that, oh my God.
And everybody's doing it all the time. This is why like we need comprehensive sex education and people better at communicating about sex, because you guys have these stories and you're not always right. Like, cause that's my job, is to poke holes in your stories and help you see differently. Cause like a lot of people are making these assumptions that are completely false. Guys don't just want to fuck you. They want you to love the fucking that you're doing. They want you to care about them. they would love for you to touch their penis and enjoy it. Like, oh my God,
Right.
this is the most beautiful penis in all the land. But they want to believe it. They don't want a fake porn story. They really want you to love them and love their penis.
Right. And love the penis too. Yeah.
And usually at the start of a relationship, you do love it. You're like, that's the best penis I've ever had in my life. You know, it's like, I think it's people have got to be honest about the work that it takes in a relationship to continue to love that penis. Right.
That's true. Continue to love it.
I love that, Michelle.
Ever.
This is what makes me love your penis. When you take the trash out and when you do the and you know, it's crazy. Like that's every woman. Every woman says that. It's like when he's helping, when I feel like I have a partner, I do love his penis more. And when he doesn't, I hate it. I want it as far away from me as possible.
Exactly.
That's why the pandemic has shut vaginas down across the nation.
Yeah, well, you know, it's shut it down. I in a lot of ways. I mean, because think about, we were just talking about going out and being like, I'm going to go get laid tonight. That's not happening right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Certainly. It's quite inappropriate for me to be like thinking that way on my front porch, you know, like eyeing neighbors. No.
It depends on if you're an exhibitionist.
I'm not an exhibitionist. You know, I am looking forward to the fact
no judgment.
To the time when my
I'm
children
like, I am. No.
well, right. But I've been living with kids. I've been living with kids for the last 25 years, right?
And
it comes a time when you can't walk around naked anymore. It's fine when they're like little and everybody's running around naked, you know?
Mm-hmm. But they're like, Mom, they do that, don't they?
There comes a time when they're like, yeah, that is not good for me to be walking around naked. And now I have to, I mainly reside on the second floor of the house, and my youngest resides in the basement. We meet in the main level. But sometimes he'll be coming up the stairs. I'm like, oh, no, stop. You know, because I'll be in a room naked. I'm like, no, you're not supposed to be up here yet. He's like, okay, let me know when it's safe to come up there. I'm like, it's my domain. Mm-hmm. But when the kids are,
your apartment, his apartment,
right?
You know?
But when the kids are gone, or like when I'm finally, he's off at college.
I think you should take back ownership. Be like, look, if you come here, you better assume I'm naked. You should always assume I'm naked walking around because this is my place.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Naked zone. Yeah.
Actually, I tell couples that. So like a lot of couples are so worried about privacy with sex. And so one of the things I tell them is like, you know, your kids have a natural disgust factor for your sex life, right? So what you need to do is just say, hey, if this door is closed, just assume we're having sex. Assume it every time. So you know what will happen? They'll never knock on your door again. It really will be an emergency. If they do, because they do not want to hear it. They don't want to like know anything about it. And so like, you know, some of them take me up on the offer, but some like, you know, then there's the shame or working through it on, sex and, you know, like people have a lot of stories.
Our kids can't know we have sex. Yeah.
It's like, you know, they do. And they just put headphones on. Don't listen. They're grossed out.
I remember like trying to go to my parents' room one time and the door was locked, which was like odd. I'm like, the door is locked. And I like knocked. I knocked. And I heard my mother say, go away, Michelle.
Ooh, that was serious.
Wow.
She was getting her own.
Exactly. I think she was, you know, get
like,
her.
I'm close, Michelle. Get out of here.
Go away, Michelle.
I only get one of these a year.
Don't ruin this for me. Get away. Go away, Michelle. And I was like,
I love it.
Walking away. All right.
No, you know what actually happened? He's like, you tell her. And she's like, you. Fine. I hate you. Now get it done. Go away, Michelle.
Exactly.
That's what happened. That was the conversation.
Yeah. That was just one of the
inappropriate. I love it.
It's what we do when we drink wine with our friends.
That's
you know,
right.
We talk about a variety of things.
Did you ever actually walk in on your parents, or did that thankfully the locked door?
That was the locked door.
Yeah. What about you, Angela?
I don't remember walking in on them. And actually, my parents divorced when I was 5, and neither of them ever remarried. So I just didn't have an opportunity after that.
Interesting. Emily, you?
No. I remember walking in like on my dad when he had just gotten out of the shower, you know, and he was
that.
so freaked out by that. He was like, "Oh my God," you know, which I mean, I think the fact that he freaked out made it worse. Like if it would have been like, whoops, it wouldn't have been as big of a deal, you know? But no, the door was locked a lot. I'll tell you that. So,
what about like roommates? You know, I remember when I was in college, my roommate and her boyfriend were really, really loud.
Okay.
So loud, and there was always like the moaning and the panting, and I would be, and I would just have my book trying to study.
Oh my God. Get your highlighter out.
And then I would be able to start to tell the like the breathing. Oh, it's almost done. It's almost
like they're getting there. They're almost there.
Getting there. They're getting there.
Oh my God. I have one horrible story. Like I had this friend in college, and like we had gone to some guy she was sort of courting, you know, his house. And so we were all hanging out in the bed just watching a show. And like, I knew that they were like, so we were all just watching. Like, it was like, you know, like one of those pull out beds. We're all just hanging out, laying. And like, I was just relaxing. But I knew they were doing their thing. So I was like, whatever, I'm going to watch the show and ignore this thing that's happening right next to me. It's not happening. And then like I was very confused. And he kind of moves his hand behind his butt and tries to like grab my hand.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't know what was going on. And so like part of me was just like, I'm curious where this is going.
Yeah.
And he takes my hand and puts it on his, and I didn't notice this had happened because I was like ignoring. I'm like, all right, they're doing their thing. He puts it on his bare ass, and I didn't know his ass was bare at the time. And I was like, like, and I just like moved it, and I was like, but then I didn't move because it was still weird. I was like, I thought we had an agreement here. I'm gonna watch while you guys fuck each other. Why am I involved in this now?
Well, and he wanted to find out the resolution of the movie. It was like at a good plot point, probably.
He thought we were having some threesome that just wasn't occurring. And so like he got the message. He left me alone. But later I was telling my friend, I was like, he tried to get me to touch his ass. And she was like, I didn't know he did that. I wondered what his hand was doing. And I was like, I didn't like that. And I don't know what to do in these situations. But she would always get me into weird shit like that. You know, whatever. It's fine. I lived and learned. You don't stay in the same space. You give yourself like some 6 feet distance.
You should have moved to the recliner. I didn't know you should have moved to the recliner.
I was just like shocked.
Right. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Weird shit. It was college.
One morning, I was getting ready. Going to my car. Mm-hmm. It was spring, and I heard this screaming, and I thought that I was a neighbor was like hurting herself until I listened a little longer, and it was like, oh, I'm actually listening to my neighbor have an orgasm right now. Okay, I guess I'll just get in my car.
Oh, she just is really enjoying herself. Oh, okay.
It was quite verbal, quite vocal, quite loud. And I'm like, all right, let me just get in the car. Because obviously I'm invading your space. I'm in my driveway. You know, it's like I wasn't on the bed. I was in my driveway, but I felt like I was intruding. Because I was
you can't be embarrassed about that. Clearly, if they're being loud enough to be heard, in the neighbor's yard, that's on them. It's not on you. Like I wouldn't feel at all embarrassed about hearing.
Well, and part of me was really impressed because it was an older couple.
Ooh.
I was like, wow.
I am impressed too. I'm like, you guys are enjoying yourself. Good for you guys.
All right. Yeah. I was like, oh, interesting. Nice. Okay.
How old? Like
70s.
Okay.
That's normal. Yeah. One of my first stories I read to become a sex therapist was about aging sex. And it was so sweet. They showed, I I mean, they didn't show it, but they told you the story of this old couple that would get in a rocking chair. Like he would sit down and she would sit on top of him and they just rocked together. Like that's how they had sex because like their hips weren't great. And, but like that's what I always think about intimacy of some sort being like, use what you have, use the apparatus you have. He couldn't do that. Like, I don't know, like, we're not men, but like what I've learned is there's a lot of hip action involved.
Yeah.
And so it's, it's a lot of work, but if you have a little thing helping you out. And so, it's funny, but like really, I was surprised, but at the same time, I'm always proud to hear that people are having sex into their 70s, 80s, and 90s and still kicking it. Cause it's like, you know what? I think I want to die having sex. I think that would be a great way to die.
Yeah. I remember.
It's good for you, not so great for the other person, however.
Well, maybe they'll feel like, well, I killed her. She had the best orgasm of her life.
I took him out. I took him out with my prowess.
Bang, bang.
Yeah. I remember my grandmother when she had married her second husband, and this would have been she got married in 1981, so this would have been 15 years later. She and I were talking about it, and I was like, well, how did you when you met him? And she was like, well, he had a really good back. That was my grandmother's code for the sex was good. And she's like, you always have to make sure that they have a very good back.
They have great thrusts.
Yeah. And apparently they continued to have sex until like 6 months up before she passed at 94 years old.
Wow. Good
I know.
for them.
That's hot.
and one time, towards the end, grandma sometimes would, not like, I don't think she didn't die of dementia, but sometimes things are changing and she's like 94 and I remember my aunt telling me a story about she was there helping them and grandma and grandpa were sitting in their little rocking love seat. They have those lazy boy rocking love seats. We're also there like individual recliners, but it's connected,
Yeah.
And my aunt came out from the little condo kitchen and she walked into the living room and my grandmother had taken off her top and she's sitting there naked. Well, her top is down and no bra on and her breasts were hanging pretty low. And my grandfather was like, I don't know why she does that. It's like, I don't know why she does that. It's like, I think grandma wants to get laid still, even though the mind, she's like, all right, you're in this rocking chair with me.
Like this?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was definitely encouraging to hear that, sex was still going to be possible, everything, without issues, because of the genes that like I could still do it in 94, 95, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Angela, you were talking with us the other day about these nursing homes and senior citizen communities that are just like rampant with sex.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. It's like, as I age, I would really like to be in one of those communities. I think at that point, I'm just going to be polyamorous and have sex with multiple people.
Right.
Because why not? I got nothing else to do.
It's not like you're going to get pregnant, right?
I know. And if I get an STD, I'm dying soon anyways.
Yeah, right. I often wonder why they segregate the men and the women in the nursing homes.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense.
Like this is a men's room and this is a women's room. And I remember visiting my grandfather when he was in the nursing home, and like this woman in her wheelchair, she would just like wheel into the guys' rooms, and the nurses were like, Betty Sue, you can't be in here. And it's like, I was like, why not?
Why does it matter?
Yeah.
Why does it matter?
Well, I don't think all of them do that. I know some of them. It probably depends on how conservative the city is. But I mean, I actually part of my so I'm a speaker too. I do like multiple things, and one of my speaking jobs is to go into nursing homes and educate people about aging sex and what things they can do to be more open and accepting, and some of it is just putting a bowl of condoms out because yes, I joke like I'm dying anyways, but the reality is they could live for a long time. You don't want an STD if you can avoid it. So having condoms out, having conversations around, how do we give people privacy? Sometimes that's the problem is the nursing home isn't giving people privacy. Yeah, but you can. Like, it depends on the culture of the nursing home. And what's cool is I'm in this aging community now where I get to talk to people about how are we going to help people have better sex? Because the reality is, here's my stance on sex. I mean, I've got a lot of stances, but like this is one important. Apparently a lot.
A stance on sex.
It's just one of the like 50, right? But like, no, like that sex makes people happy. Like, I think people's happiness is very closely tied to their ability to have good sex. Because if you think of all the things you need to do to have a good sex, you need to be a good communicator. You need to be able to advocate for yourself. You need to be able to be self-actualized and take care of yourself. It's not like you have to fix this for me. It's like, no, I am a sexual being. And you can complement my sexuality, but you are not responsible for my sexuality, and I'm not responsible for yours. We are responsible for ourselves, and we can add. So that's that add subtract thing I was talking about earlier. Like, if you have a partner that's subtracting, bad. Yeah. But like a partner that's adding, like you already come as a whole person that's sexual and vibrant and like wild, and you have your language and they have it, and you guys just like add this crazy chemistry that's like, ah! It's like, that's my explosion sound. It didn't sound like an explosion, but to me it did. And that's the reality, is that when you approach sex and relationships like that, then you can have great sex, because it's not this push and pull of like, I need sex because you're not doing it. It's like, no, I'm a sexual person. I do need sexual interaction, but you know what? Whether you're there or not to do it, I will take care of myself. And sometimes you can add to my sexual style if you like.
That's a good approach.
And you see how flirty that is? Like, you want to have sex with me now. You know it. Like, it's just like, that's so hot. But it's not hot when somebody is like, I need you. I can't have sex. I can't just do this myself. Like, have you ever heard of resentful? Like, okay, hold on. First, I coined this, so you didn't hear about it. But like resentful masturbating. Like when people are just like, I'm doing this because you won't do it.
Oh my God.
That's not sexy. That's like, that's subtracting. That's subtracting. Yeah, no, it's like, but it's very different if it's like, I'm taking care of myself. Do you want to join me? It's like, whoa, that adds. There's a difference. And like, that's
big difference.
There's just a big difference between if you're adding to a relationship or subtracting from it. And I don't know. I've been on this subtraction kick for like all week. So I'm thinking hard on this.
Processing through some things.
And I'm not talking about a hard on. I'm just processing.
No, yeah. But again, I think it comes from perspective and point of view, right? Mm-hmm. The guy that's like, angrily jerking himself off because you said no. Mm-hmm. He thinks you are the one that you have to be the vessel for him to, come in, right?
Well, he's trying to make you feel guilty.
Well, right. But he thinks sex is penis and vagina. Let's just say that, right? Because
break it down easy, I guess.
and you said no, or she said no, or whatever, and so now he's angry that his outlet is not there for him. But he's gonna.
Well,
and
sex
isn't
supposed to be an outlet, like you plug in. Like,
right?
Oh my god!
But there's so many people, right?
No, sex isn't an outlet. Sex is an interaction and exchange.
It should be, right? I'm just right, but I would think for a lot of people who haven't had the luxury of listening to your podcast or things of that nature, they come from the fact that it's okay. Sex is I'm sorry. Here, I mean, like my brain is going boom, boom, boom.
I just blew you up. It's exciting. I love it.
As an outlet, I remember one interaction with a man, and he was quite angry when I did. Like I took all mine. I took it all. I was like, oh yeah, go ahead. I'm happy. I got mine from you. But I did not want to give. I was not in the mood to give back or to take care of him or anything like that. And he was definitely angry that I left him with blue balls or whatever, and I was like, well, you could have taken care of that yourself, but granted, it wasn't a relationship that was a long-lived relationship or anything like that. But there was definitely a disconnect in the communication. But I'm not a sociologist or anything like that, but I play one.
You play one on TV.
on my podcast, but my perception of what he felt my body was there for was the outlet for him to get off, right? To empty those balls, to release it, right? Mm-hmm. And I did not let that happen.
Well, and let's even go into that for a second, because there's this situation where, so I think women feel like it's normal to just give a blowjob and that can be okay. We've been raised to kind of think, yeah, you can just please him. Like, I don't want to do it. Let's just please him. But like this is the first relationship I've ever been in where he's like, actually, I just wanted to please you. And I was like, what? He was like, no, I was actually just going to pleasure you. And then I got other things to do. And I was like,
wow.
I don't know what just happened here, but I love you so much.
But it's true. Like it seems very socially, it's way more common for, the men to get taken care of. And
we're giving him a blowjob, we're giving a hand job. I mean, it's like, can you just, all right, let's take care of you so you don't get pissed with me.
Even just in sex too. Like, it's not uncommon for them to get off and us not. And it just is what it is. We're hard at it, right? And that's, right. So the idea of just getting us our pleasure and then them moving on, that is a much less common.
It was a mind-blowing experience. Yeah. He was like, I just kind of want to go down on you and make you feel good. And then I was just going to go because I need to go get my kid. And I was like, I don't know where to put my hands. Because I didn't know what to do. I was like, well, okay. I'm going to let this happen, but I'm going to process. Like, you know how you got broken a couple times in the show? I was just like, I don't know what to do, but this is awesome. And that's what I think is a good partner. And I don't care if it's male or female. I think sometimes sex can just be about the pleasuring of one person. And it just be a fun experience. Because like, even when I pleasure my partner, it's like some of what I get is just like poking around at him and like seeing if I can control him in some way, or he gets tweaking this way or this way.
Starts shaking when you start scratching his side, like the dog.
Exactly. But women do that too. Like if you tweak her that way, she'll be like, ah. I had one lover who said, he was like, if her legs aren't shaking, you ain't doing it right. And I was like, that wasn't this partner, but it's similar thought where it's like, wow, I didn't know men made this about us. This is so exciting.
Yeah. What would be awesome is for everybody to have, to be connected with partners that made their legs shake.
Well, maybe we all should become partners that can make legs shake. Like, that's what I'm saying. Wow. So I think we should all become whole people who can become sexy, hot partners who make people's legs shakes. And then if everybody's like that, then look, the legs are shaking all across the world. And that's my agenda.
Well, and when the legs are shaking all across the world, that's emanating out blushing cheeks and lovely.
Oh, I know. And we're so pretty and we're so happy.
And that just goes out into the universe and ripples out further and further and further, and everybody is happy.
The ripple effect of the orgasm. I love it.
I'm definitely not trying to like take us to another section at all, because I know we need to wrap this up. But I think the problem with what's happening in our world right now is people are not having enough orgasms.
I agree.
They're not. They need to be doing more. They need to have more orgasms.
People do relax more afterwards. I say that men hold all their stress in their penises, but I think women hold their stress in their vaginas too. Now that I'm like becoming more global, it's like, actually, we have a lot of stress in these genital areas. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Right. So, our listeners, if you want to help with the world and just start having an orgasm a day, start small.
Oh my God, you just an orgasm on a task, a quest
for on Cliterally Speaking the Podcast.
Choose to accept it.
We always I think I would be really happy to know that all of our listeners are having orgasms every single day. Because that just sends out even more love and happiness out into the world. But Angela, what an absolutely wonderful time having you here on the show with us today.
Yes, and how can our guests find you?
Oh, 2 ways. Well, multiple ways, but the 2 most important are my website, www.therapistintlouis.com, and then my podcast, www.aboutsexpodcast.com.
Fantastic.
Fabulous.
We'll have those links in our show notes too.
Yes, and we'll also be sharing our episode with you that we did on Angela's show.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Hearing that.
Oh my gosh, they'll get to learn even more about us, Emily.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Things you weren't prepared to share. And I would like to.
not so soon in our relationship with everybody. I was like maybe waiting like that.
My dating style has been like, look, this is who I am. I do this and this. Do you like it or not? Because it's not going to work if you don't.
Yeah. I can't really. Yeah. When I try to date and I say I have a podcast named Cliterally Speaking the Podcast, they're like, maybe, it's like, that's okay. That's fine. I'm going to
share
talk
some
about
dating notes. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about you anyway. It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's how it goes.
True. It's true.
But it was awesome having you on the show.
Cheers. It was really lovely.
When this pandemic is over and we can all hang out in real life, let's definitely get together. All right. Cheers to you.
Cheers. Cheers. It was great, guys. Thank you. Thank you for joining us and listening to that awesome episode. And of course, you know that you can find me at www.therapistintlouis.com and www.aboutsexpodcast.com. Thank you again for joining in and listening to the Cliterally Speaking podcast episode. And stay kinky, St. Louis.